This video will show ANet coordinators and backups, information about the testing calendar, and the math diagnostic information as well. Number one, be able to locate the ANet testing calendar in the ANet Canvas course. And to get to the ANet Canvas course, if you're not already enrolled in it, you can self-enroll, and you can self-enroll using the URL that you see there. But to get to the Canvas course, you can go to ebrschools.instructure.com and then sign in that way. Or you can go to the EBR webpage, then go to Employees, then go to Links, and then click on the Canvas icon. Number two, make sure you understand that all staff will access the ANet platform using myanet.org or my.achievementnetwork.org. Do not use Clever. Only students access Clever to get to the assigned assessments in ANet. Number three, know where the materials for the assessments are located in the ANet platform. Number four, provide teachers with the math diagnostic reference sheets. Know where these are located in the ANet platform. Reference sheets, math reference sheets, will be needed for grades 6 through 11. For the reference sheet, you don't have to print out one for each student, just print out class sets. But they are going to need the reference sheets. All right, let me go a little bit further up. All right, and then number five, inform teachers where to find the standards that are on each ANet assessment. And then if you have any questions, remember you can always contact me. There's my email address and then phone number. And you can also contact ANet Help Desk at 1-877-764-9327. All right, so let's go ahead and start talking about each one of these. So the first thing we need to be able to do is obviously get into the ANet Canvas course, and let's look at the testing calendar. All right, so I'm going to move this over. All right, so I'm going to go to the ANet Canvas course. So here's the ANet Canvas course. So when you get into ANet and you go to the home page right here, go to the home page, you're going to see, scroll down, you're going to see this table right here. On the left-hand side in that table, it says testing dates and grades. So that first one you see is go here to access the complete schedule. There's a down arrow here, so I'm going to click on the down arrow, and it's going to open it. It's going to send the link to the bottom left. I'm going to open it up, and then this is the calendar. At the top of this calendar, let me go ahead and expand this. All right, at the top of the calendar, you'll have information about the math diagnostic, the start date, the end date, and the district report date. So that's when the district obtains all of the data that needs to be reported. You have the math diagnostic. The start date will be August 15th through September 15th. So that's what we're going to focus on today, just making sure you understand that the math diagnostic will be for 1 month, and it will start next week, so August 15th. You have ELA fluency. Now, the math diagnostic, if you recall, that's where students take it online. The ELA fluency, that's a one-on-one situation. The literacy department is still developing a plan on how to roll out the ELA fluency. But for right now, on August 15th, you will begin. You don't have to start on August 15th, but that's when it will open. And then you have until the 15th to complete the math diagnostic. But the math diagnostic is online. You can definitely start that on the 15th. The ELA fluency will see if we can start on the 15th. The literacy department is still developing a plan on how to roll out that part. Then you have information of fall assessment. So we're calling this fall assessment. We're calling this winter assessment, and we're calling this spring assessment. And remember, this the last year when we talked about the interim 4, that was optional. So we're calling this, though, summer assessment. So fall assessment, winter assessment, spring assessment, summer assessment. So the terminology we will use will no longer be interim 1, interim 2, interim 3. We're going to call them fall assessment, winter assessment, spring assessment, and then summer assessment. And then their start dates, the end dates, and the district report date. Okay, now let's go to the math part. Math is a little tricky, and you need to make sure you understand two things about math with regards to grade 6 and Algebra 1. All right, so you have your grades listed here. You have the diagnostic from August 15th through September 15th. And in ANet, those are called Assessment 5. And you're going to see this in a little while. So those are called Assessment 5. Then you have the fall assessment. And then you have the assessment that needs to be given in the fall assessment. You have the winter assessment, which is from January 9th through the 25th. And you have the assessment that needs to be given during the winter assessment. Then you have the spring assessment, which is from March 13th through the 29th, and the assessment that needs to be given during that spring assessment. And then you have the summer assessment, which is from May 8th through June 12th, and the assessment that needs to be given during that time. Remember, though, the summer assessment is optional. You need to make sure you discuss this with your principal to see if your students will take the summer assessment. Usually that is needed for students going to summer remediation. All right, now let's go back to fall assessment. Notice that in the fall assessment, it is not all assessment 1. 6th grade, look at 6th grade. So 6th grade in Algebra 1, the order is not the same as the others. Notice in grade 3, the order is Assessment 1, Assessment 2, Assessment 3. In grade 4, Assessment 1, Assessment 2, Assessment 3. And everyone else is Assessment 4, by the way. Grade 5, Assessment 1, Assessment 2, Assessment 3. But when you look at 6th grade, the fall assessment is Assessment 3 that will be given first. So 6th grade goes Assessment 3, Assessment 1, Assessment 2, and then Assessment 4. Algebra 1, the order is different as well. It goes Assessment 1, Assessment 3, and then Assessment 2, and then Assessment 4. So 6th grade and Algebra 1, the order is different based on the curriculum, the order of the curriculum. Okay, now let's talk about grade 6 and Algebra 1 again. So in the fall assessment, and we're going to talk about this more in one of the office calls when we get closer to the end of September. But for grade 6, when students, remember fall assessment for grade 6 math, students will take assessment 3. When students go into Clever, they're going to see assessment 1 and assessment 3. It is very important that your teachers inform students that they need to be taking assessment 3. All right, so make sure that the students are not just taking any assessment they see in grade 6 and grade 8. Algebra 1. Grade 6, for fall assessment, there will be 2 assessments, assessment 1 and assessment 3. They take assessment 3. Algebra 1, the issue doesn't occur until the winter assessment. You see that? So Algebra 1, we're fine for fall assessment. For Algebra 1, fall assessment is assessment 1. But for winter, it's assessment 3. So for Algebra 1 students, when they take the winter assessment, they're going to take assessment 3. But they're also going to see assessment 2. Because remember, assessment 2 is really what should be taken in the winter assessment. But for the order of the curriculum, the Algebra 1, students will take assessment 3 and a winter assessment. So for math, it's a little tricky for grade 6 and Algebra 1. So just make sure that we're all on the same page when students are taking the correct assessments. It's very important that they're taking the correct assessments in the fall assessment window, the winter assessment window, and the spring assessment window. The summer's fine. The summer, they're all assessment 4. And the diagnostic, it's all assessment 5. All right, now let's look at English, ELA. So here's the ELA. There is no issue in ELA. It's fall assessment is all assessment 1. Winter assessment, everybody takes assessment 2. Spring assessment, everybody takes assessment 3. Notice, though, the diagnostic, that's that fluency screener. When you look at ANet, when you get into ANet, you'll see that there's, in assessments, there's no online assessment, and it isn't. So all this is paper-based. So if you recall last year, what you did was you read, or a student read a passage, and then you had to determine some scores based on how many words were read correctly and so on. So that's a one-on-one. It is not in ANet. It is paper-based that you collect data. The literacy department will is developing a plan, will roll out a plan on how teachers will give this fluency screener. All right, so that is the calendar. All right, so that's the calendar. So let's now, what I want to do now, let's see. We talked about, I brought this back over. We talked about, number 1, the ANet testing calendar. Number 2, make sure that when you get into ANet platform that you're using myanet.org or my.achievementnetwork.org. Do not use Clever. And so we're about to go into ANet, and then we're going to look at the materials for the assessments that are located in the ANet platform. And at the same time, in number 4, let me bring this up just to show you. In number 4, we're going to show you, or we're going to see where the math diagnostic reference sheets are located. And then we're also going to look at where the standards are that teachers have access to, so they can see which standards are on the diagnostic, and they can also see, I believe, which standards are on assessment, on the fall assessment, which standards will be on the fall assessment. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Canvas course. So you're going to log into Canvas. When you log into Canvas, you're going to see your school name on the top left, and you're going to see your name on the top right. And then it says welcome, and then your name, and then log out. Okay, so the math assessments, see where it says, well, manage assessments here. So you can go to manage assessments. When you go to manage assessments, I'm clicking on this, manage assessments, and then we see this. It automatically defaults to ELA, and notice right now you have ELA language, English language arts, and when you look at the drop down, it also has math. But for ELA, notice the drop down here, you have the reading fluency diagnostic, online ELA. Here's the materials right here, and then there's the scoring sheet. Now, that's a scoring sheet from ANet. You need to wait to see what the literacy department has developed, because they may not be using this scoring sheet. So be careful with the reading fluency. Wait until the literacy department rolls out their plan to see how you're going to score. So we may not be using the scoring sheet that ANet provided. Okay, and so let me go to math. I'm going to math. And then I want to go to the diagnostic. So there's the math diagnostic. I'm going to click on this. And then remember, that's materials for assessment 5. So remember, assessment 5 is the diagnostic. And teachers do not have access to this. So when the diagnostic is given, when the students have completed the diagnostic, you're going to have to provide teachers with the analysis guide so they can use that in PLCs. So make sure you are providing teachers with this analysis guide so they can use these in PLCs for planning purposes. You'll notice, though, that grade 6 is where the reference sheet is located, or it starts. So grade 6, grade 7, 8th grade, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. So when I click on 6th grade diagnostic reference sheet, when I click on it, it'll open up at the bottom, and then this is what you're going to give the students. So all you need to do is just print one class set. You don't have to print one for every student in the school. Oh, that's in 6th grade. Just print a class set so students can share with each other. All right, so there's the reference sheet. You are going to have to provide, and that's 6th grade right here. So you are going to have to provide that to the students. So that's where you're going to get the reference sheet. So just a reminder, for the reference sheets, let me go back to my dashboard. To get the reference sheets, you're going to go to Manage Assessments, and you're going to go to the drop down. You click on Math. Then you're going to go to Math Diagnostic Online. Then you can click on Materials, and then scroll down until you find the reference sheet for the grade level. Also remember that after the after diagnostic is given, you need to provide teachers with the analysis guide, and also if your principal wants to do the assessment booklet as well. But the analysis guide is needed for PLCs. The booklet may be needed as well. Sometimes it's helpful if teachers work out the problems themselves to see what the thought processes were as students went through solving the problems. All right, so that's the reference sheet. So make sure you provide those to students before they begin the diagnostic. All right, so then the next thing I want to do is to show you where the standards are located. So if I click on standards right here, it always defaults to ELA. There is, even though you see 2nd grade, there is no 2nd grade. We're not giving 2nd grade, so the assessments will only be for 3rd grade through grade 11. 3rd grade through grade 11. So I'm going to go ahead and click on, since we're talking about diagnostic right now, I'm going to click on Math, and I'm going to click on grade 5, and I'm going to go here, I'm going to click on Math Diagnostic, and I'm going to update. And when I update, these are the standards that are on the grade 5 diagnostic. Remember, the diagnostic measures the standards from the previous school year. So you'll see grade 4 here. So these are the domain, the clusters, and then remember that the diagnostic is assessment 5. So you look under assessment 5 right here, and those are the standards. So notice that you have those green the green circles here. So that just tells you how many items are available for that standard. And notice there's 1, 1, 1, 2, and so on. If you scroll down, it breaks it down in terms of item types. So notice that on this diagnostic for grade 5, there are 14 items. See right here, 14? There are 14 items. 3 are multiple select. 1 is short answer. And these are all computer, for the diagnostic, it's all computer scored. Teachers do not score anything. It's all computer scored for the diagnostic. And then there are 10 selected response. But there's a plus sign right here. See that little plus sign? So when you click on the plus sign, it'll break it down even further. So those 3 points that we saw here, or those 3 items, 2 of those items will be 1 point. 1 of those items will be 2 points. Scroll further down. Let's click on that plus sign for short answer. 1 item will be 1 point. Click on selected responses, and then 10 items will be 1 point each. So that's the breakdown of the item types. You can hover over the standard. It'll tell you the standard. You can even click on the standard. See, it's hyperlinked, so when I click on it, it brings you to resources for that standard. So teachers have access to the standards tab with what you're seeing. So they can get access to that. Just let them know that when they click on that standard, they get all these different resources that are available. You have your vertical progression that can be discussed in PLCs, and then there are some sample questions for that standard. All right, so I think that is all I wanted to discuss. Let me make sure I covered everything. So we did number 1, we did number 2, number 3, you know where the materials for the assessments are located. You know where to find the math diagnostic reference sheets that will be needed for the diagnostic test, and you know how to inform teachers of where to find the standards that are in each ANet assessment. Before I close this, though, I want to go in as a teacher just to show you the standards tab. So let me go ahead and do that. So I'm going to log out of my account and log in as a teacher. All right, so I'm logged in as a teacher, and so notice that where you see school administration, all teachers have access to is export username and passwords. They don't have all that other stuff that you have. When I go to manage assessments, I just wanted to show you that when you go there, and let's go to math, and I'm going to go to the diagnostic, and I'm going to go to materials. Notice that all they have is the well, for grade 8, they have a diagnostic assessment booklet. So I'm not sure why they're not supposed to have these assessment booklets. So I think that's an error on ANet's side. But notice that they don't have the reference sheets. They don't have the analysis guide. For some reason, for grade 8, they have the assessment booklet. But I believe that's an error on ANet's part. Let me just open up to see what it is. Yeah, so they're not supposed to have that. But that is an error on ANet's part, so that's a glitch in the system. All right, but I just want to show you that on the materials for the math diagnostic, they wouldn't have anything. So you would have to provide them with that information. But in Standards tab, when you go to Standards, and since we're talking about diagnostic, let me go to Math, and let me go to 7th grade diagnostic, and then Update. Notice they see the same thing that you saw in the previous record, or in the recording that you saw earlier for school leaders. So the teacher, when they click on diagnostic, and when they click on standards, will see the same standards page that you see as school leader. So just show them. Remember, this is 7th grade, so notice it's 6th grade standards. Show them how to find the standards that are in the diagnostic, how many items. Remember, the green is how many items are on that diagnostic. When they scroll down, they can break it down further into the item type. So there are some multiple select items, and then students' selected response items. The diagnostic, there is no teacher scored. It's all machine scored for the diagnostic. Also remind them that they can click on the standards and then go any further. So this will be needed in PLCs when teachers get together to discuss the diagnostic data. All right, so now I think that this is the end of what I wanted to discuss in this video. All right, if you have any questions, you know how to contact me, and have a great day.